talk about 1,600 projects, of course, I mean, as a private sector coming in, people normally get confused. So which area should I focus first? So I think that's government realized that. And that's why what the government tried to do is actually creating a pipeline like other countries. But unfortunately, I think we need to admit, on the developing countries, not only Indonesia, I know like I operate in Vietnam and a number of places, it's always very difficult to actually set up a pipeline. Why? Because the database is not strong enough. So what the government tried to do is try to overcome them. So what government do now is actually they introduce some sort of pyramid approach, where actually what they do is, when we talk about 1,600 projects underneath, they select 225 projects with one electricity program, where they call it national strategic projects now. This is one group. Out of this national strategic project, so I'm just flip that across, the government chose 30 projects, which been called as a priority projects. So what you get now is actually pyramids. Currently, over the past, I would say 6 months, we're currently on the process try to collect all the data and try to complement all the data. Hopefully with that pyramid, when we have enough data, we can actually continually narrow it down to create a pipeline. And with this pipeline, this pipeline is pretty open, it's open to public. It can be accessed by everyone. Currently, unfortunately, I mean, we keep that, but we're currently on the process building an IT system and also the website to provide those information across to the public. So with this pipeline, hopefully we can attract more of the people like yourself who like to invest in Indonesia to understand what's the risk and what's the potential down the pipeline, to give you a bit more assurance on putting your investment in. So this one, probably another one, I just want to sort of touch base before I mention about KPPIP itself. I think one of the biggest issues because I'm a civil engineer by background, so every time I actually look into the project, one thing I would like to understand is actually the cadastral mapping. And in the past, if you want to develop a project, issue on getting a right map is always difficult. You jump to one department and go to the next department, and sometimes what you get, you talk about one same subject, you got 2 different maps. So this is an effort that the government initially tried to do. They tried to create one national map, GIS map, which will hopefully help everyone who like to develop a project to understand what's truly the issue they're going to face when they actually start to develop a project. So this is an ongoing effort. I think my recollection is right, by 2019 or 2019, right? 2019. So some of the maps, particularly like a big area like Kalimantan, it's already well developed, so it can be used by everyone. But again, it's an ongoing project. So let me talk a bit about the unit that I work with, which is the Committee for Acceleration for Priority Infrastructure Delivery. So it's very mouthful, I know that, but unfortunately, I think Indonesia love that kind of thing, and then also love the abbreviation as well. So, so the committee itself is actually, it's not totally brand new committee. It's actually a sort of revitalization of the old committee. So let me talk about the committee itself. The member of the committee is actually the 4 ministers at present, but we currently, probably by next month, there will be 2 additional ministers sitting in the committee. The chairman is actually the coordinating minister of Economic Affairs, Mr. Damina Sutian. And the members, as you can see in here, Pak Bambang Brojo, who's the Minister of National Development Agency, Pak Sofian Jalil, who's the Minister of Agrarian and Spatial Planning, and Ibu Sri Mulyani as Minister of Finance. So our focus, pretty much our mandate is pretty simple. We can sort of group into 2. One on the priority project, we've been asked to actually deliver the project. So we've been given a mandate to sort of intervene or probably drive the process all the way from the concept project up to the operational maintenance. And the second group is actually on the National Strategic Project. We've been given a task to monitor and evaluate the project. So, of course, the question is, what's the difference, between this new committee and the old committees or prior committees? I think one of the biggest major difference is actually, if you see the far right from your side, it's actually, you see so I'm just put this part over here, the full-time PMO. I think my understanding is in the prior committees, normally all these committees have been run by public servants. Professionals have been brought in on the basis of just contract to support the project. But for this particular committee, which started from last year, they brought in all professionals. I'm the first one who's brought in as program director, and my role is actually to run day-to-day operation of this particular this committee. So that's probably a huge difference. So all my teams are professionals, people from your side. And it's a pretty small team. And what we do in terms of day-to-day operation, we actually rely on consultants, professional consultants. I think some of you is actually coming from, so some of the people I'm not currently working for us. So the reason why we do that, because at the end of the day, all these projects, the focus is actually not funded by state budget. I think as directed by the President himself, the focus is actually start to look at how bring the private sector. If the private sector cannot come in, that's why we step down to try to think about how to actually engage the SOE to support and delivering the project. And if this still doesn't work, that's where you actually start to actually use the local government or state budget in delivering the project. And that's why with that kind of attitude, the setup is end up sort of focusing on everything that produced by this committee. If as much as possible, it can be adopted directly by the private sector. I think one of the things that very painful sometimes, like over the 6 years I operate, sometimes we get all these documents prepared by someone, and suddenly you look at it from the international angle, and you start to see like it needs to be redone. And when you actually work on that level, you waste immediately. You're going to spend another 6-9 months, and you lose 6-9 months of work very quickly because you have to redo all the work. So we try to avoid that. We understand that there will be a due diligence needs to be carried out by whoever going to take the project, but hopefully you can cut it by half at least. So the role, I already mentioned to you about the role. That we are actually sitting at 2 levels of the roles. One is actually the national strategic project, and the second part is, which is the top one, the priority project. I don't want to go into the details on that because I already sort of explained to you, but of course, people ask, like, what happened over the past 12 months? I think now about 14 months. Because we've been very quiet. We just push on the background. So this is some of the sort of things that we've done. I think you hear about, just go from the far right, Central Java Power Plant. I think everyone in here who's been involved in infrastructure in Indonesia knows this project. I think over the past 4 years, the project was stuck. Pretty much couldn't reach the financial close after the PPA. So we, the KPPIP, coming in, stepping in, and surprise, surprise, people thought it's very complicated issue, but so there's a number of issues, but at the end of the day, it's always coming back to the communication and coordination, and this is what we've done. So when we've been given the task within 4 months, together with a number of shareholders, we end up sort of managed to actually do the financial close, and it was done in the President's office. And second part, the middle part, same thing as well. Medan Kuala Lumpur Tebing Tinggi Toll Road, there was an issue on the simple little thing. There's a gas pipeline and a development road, which apparently they actually crisscross each other. It took them 2 years, and it wasn't gone anywhere. We step in. And when we step in, because we came from professional, we look at it from professional angle, we look at it from engineering point of view, financing point of view, and the solution that we offer, it never been a win from one side. It never be a loss one on the other side. What we offer is actually a win-win and loss-loss for both sides. But anyway, at the end of the day, I think everyone accept it. Again, coming back communication and coordination from hopefully at that time from very fair angle, and we managed to knock that issue out within about, I think it was about 3 months. And now actually this project is progressing. The far left is quite, I think this is a project which become quite famous in the media over the past, I can recall, for two weeks. Because one media say it's going to be off SPPP, the other media say like, nah, it's going to be SOE assignment, but we're jumping in. I think the last meeting that we had with the minister was last Friday together with the President Director of Pertamina, and it's reaffirmed that the Bontang Oil Refinery is going to be a PPP project. And if this is progressing, this is probably the first PPP oil refinery project in the world, up to the value of 150 billion US dollar, hopefully. So this is probably my last presentation, and I just want to actually highlight you on the far right-hand side, which is the Umbulan Water Supply Project. If you know this project, especially among the Indonesian people who are actually working in the public works, this project is very famous. It was initiated 40 years ago, surprisingly. And 10 years ago, it went to the transaction, it didn't go anywhere. But we ended up working together with SMI. We managed to actually finally appoint the winner. And also the agreement of PPP was signed almost about 3 months ago. And hopefully cross the finger, the financial close will be achieved within 1 month. And that, if it happens, it's 7 months ahead of the target. And how it can be done? Simple thing. We right in the middle. We actually try to coordinate with the others, which sits everyone together to sit on the same page, make people understand. And with that, again, hopefully we can sort of achieve the financial close within 1 month. I think that's the end of my presentation. Hopefully I don't take more than 10 minutes. I think I took more than 10 minutes there. Anyway, thank you very much, everyone. Great to see you.
Thank you, Pak Rainier. I would like to invite Pak Osmar Mungkasa, Deputy Governor of Jakarta.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The bad thing about the last or the fourth panelist is we are always running out of time. So actually, the title is Jakarta Infrastructure Development. Good morning, everybody. I forgot to say. Jakarta Infrastructure Development, but actually I'm not going to talk about the infrastructure, but I'm going to talk about how the bureaucracy of Jakarta try to change the way they operate it to make sure that our infrastructure development is going very well. Okay. Next. Jakarta, I think everybody knows about Jakarta, but the important thing about Jakarta is that every day we have additional 3 million people come to Jakarta from neighbor area, and this is really difficult for us to provide services to all of these 3 million people additional, including me. I live in outside Jakarta, so even though I work for the Jakarta government, but I live not in Jakarta. And then next, here, we have around 10 big, huge infrastructure project, but I'm not going to talk in detail about all these projects because Pak Rainer already talked about one or two of these projects. But I'm going to talk about the bureaucracy reform. Why this is important? I mean, when we're talking about Jakarta, 10 or 5 years ago, if you go to the Kelurahan to sub-district area and then you try to get a permit, and then it would take like 3 or 4 months before you get the permit. Now, we're trying to reform the bureaucracy to make sure that we can provide, services even in 1 day. We try to provide the service even in 1 day. How to do that? First, we try to recruit the appropriate people, appropriate staff, good staff. So if you look at the director of MRT, director of the busway, everyone coming from the professional staff, even for the PNS, what do you call it, PNS, government employee, civil servant. They imported from Bappenas. I'm from Bappenas. So even the civil servant, they imported from outside the DKI to make sure that they can have appropriate staff to provide services.